Hello, and welcome to the Metaphysical Life Podcast, where we talk about all things relating to body, mind, and spirit. My name is Nicole, and today I have a lovely woman, Kim Fisk, on the line. And I'm going to let Kim introduce herself and what she does because she does a lot. But I wanted just to have her on because we will be launching the Metaphysical Book Club on Instagram using Kim's book called The Monster Under the Bed. So welcome, Kim.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me, Nicole.
Thank you. And so why don't you start by sharing a little bit about, maybe what you do, because you
Okay.
do a lot.
Yeah, I do actually. And it's interesting because it's in flux right now in life, but that's good because it keeps me staying aligned because I am in a lot of not knowing in my life in areas. So I have had a background probably for the better part of 30 years in relationship marketing, network marketing. So I have built teams of people, which is based on if you've had any experience with any kind of network marketing, direct sales. It's very much, if done in the way that I did it anyway. I'm sure it's done multiple ways, but it's a personal development university. That's what I love about it because
Right.
in those businesses, as in any kind of um, commission sales kind of position, you work on you harder than really how to do all that. You should anyway, if you want to succeed. And so that's what really I have cut my teeth on is personal development starting back in my late 20s and just growing and becoming. And these businesses have actually given me, I'm very blessed and grateful for the fact that those businesses kind of create some leveraged income for people. And so I've been doing this, my last weight loss and health company for about 12 years, but I kind of phased out from the leadership role that I had played with that specific company. I'm still enjoying it and I still have a large team that I love to impact, but I wanted to expand my reach and do something else. And I felt a call to write this book, mainly from the experiences and lessons I've learned in the trenches, coaching, mentoring, training people over
Mm-hmm.
those years. And so, and my and the growth I discovered in myself. So that's why the book, The Monster Under the Bed, and the subtitle is Uncovering the Lie That Drives Us. So it, I told you earlier before the call, it's like when I wrote the book, it came out last, over a year ago now. Um, I was pretty sick of it. I was like, I don't even want to look at that thing again. It was like some PTSD in the writing of it because it was really a refining process for me just to write the book. And so, anyway, so hearing your feedback about it to me, and you don't know me, you didn't know me, I don't even know, you don't even know how you found the book.
No.
Um, I'll tell you that just reminded me. I walked into a doctor's office, just a woman I was going to see for a general checkup, and I was in her waiting room. This was probably 2 or 3 months after the book came out. And so the hoo-ha of the launch and all that had already kind of passed. So I'm sitting in the waiting room with my little gown on, sitting on the bed, and I look up on her shelf. And she had, how doctors' offices, little rooms have those little books or magazines on the table or whatever. Well, she had like 4 or 5 books up on a shelf. And I'm looking, okay. And I didn't have my glasses on, but I'm like, that sure looks like my colors and my font. And I got up off the bed and looked at the shelf, and she had my book.
Wow.
And I didn't know her. Like, this is the first time I had ever gone to this. She was a nurse practitioner. First time I'd ever seen her. And she walks in and I go, how do you have, that's my book. That's me, Kim Fisk. I was so excited because like a person I didn't know had my book. Like all my friends had to buy it, right? But a person I didn't
Right.
know had my book, and a doctor, and then the one I'm seeing right now. Like, it was just so like an Oprah moment,
Yeah, totally. That's
So
so
you
funny.
kind of gave me that too when you went, I don't know how I got your book.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know I was researching books on metaphysical topics, and for some reason yours came up, and maybe it's because it's about working on your, your conscious and your subconscious kind of, and how you were brought up and that sort of thing. And
Maybe it was just because it was meant to be.
maybe. So, so share a little bit about maybe a high level of what the book is about. Like,
Okay.
don't maybe not ruin it for people who haven't read it because we're going to be starting it in February. But
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, you know, it is really about, and I don't think it can be a spoiler alert because honestly, how many times do we watch
True.
movies over and over and TV shows over and like the same ones? I,
Hmm.
I I do it all the time. So I think it actually you'll hear different things as you go through it at different times in your life. So the thing for me that I wanted to get out, the message I wanted to convey was that in working with people over the years, hundreds of maybe thousands, I don't know, because it was just like constant every day, all day. I'd have coaching calls, I'd have group coaching, I'd have private, I'd have events I spoke at where people would. So I just dealt with all kinds of different income brackets, different health brackets, different age, gender, blah, blah, blah. It didn't matter. Everyone without fail, Nicole, had the same kind of at the bottom, like when we drill down, this same voice was saying to them, you're not okay. You're
Mm.
not okay. Like there's something wrong with you. And there was different configurations of that. Like some people, their not okayness really equated in their deep psyche to I'm stupid.
Mm.
Um, I'm not enough, not worthy. These are the things that kept coming up to me. Um, for me, and I talk about it in the book, I'm only average. Like I'm not
Right.
special. Like, cause whatever I feel is missing, then the opposite of it is what I needed to be. Right. So, and the book talks about how our survival brains, what we were born with and how this is my personal feeling. We are created from a pure love entity. We are pure love at our deep core. We are created from it and we are a piece of it. That is a huge belief I have. Um, but that isn't what that's what created us, but that isn't what raised us. We were raised at the mercy of the 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 biological, neurological um, kind of handcuffs that were put on us. Our survival brain only speaks, only hears emotion. And when you're little, you don't that's all you are born with is the survival of, uh-oh, am I going to be okay? Am I going to live? Am I going to live? Is that going to, the unknown was also um, interpreted as you're going to die. So anything unknown meant death. You don't do it out of there. So we still hear and feel the remnants of that part of still how people are born. So they don't have the logical brain to offset it. See, like as adults, we can now look, if we're looking through our logical brain, we can go, well, that doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense that I would eat, you know, the whole packet of Oreos. It doesn't make sense. Why did I do that? Well, you don't realize that it came from an actual biological, neurological process of survival that your emotion today is still triggering it and it still
Mm.
rules without observation, without investigation, without rewiring this. My assertion is that our emotional, aka survival brain, is in the driver's seat all the time. What happens is we have our prefrontal cortex brain that doesn't, by the way, fully develop until mid 20s.
Mm-hmm.
How much of your identity is already entrenched? I mean, it's already entrenched by like 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, I talk about mental bloodhounds.
Mm-hmm.
The biological term is the reticular activating system. It's part of your survival brain again. That's fully functioning when you're little. And when you make the decision for me that I'm average, I'm not okay, that equated to like in the fear brain, I could die
Right.
because we're a community species. we
Mm-hmm.
we need a tribe, we need people to take care of us. Survival brain wise, you need to make sure people like you and accept you. That's like part of our survival. We're not like the deer that get born right out here in my yard sometime that can pretty much get up and walk away and be self-sufficient in a minute or a
Right.
week or two. That's not us. Our survival brain has been developed over millennia to be taken care of. We have to be taken care of. So that means it's wired to make sure am I okay? It's an ongoing question that we were born with. Am I okay? You like me? How about you? Do you like me? Is this okay? Is this good? Right. And you feel that still as an adult. You just didn't know where it came from. And so the point of the book to me is to give some relief, number one, to people to know they don't suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they don't suck. They're actually intrinsically valuable and worthy and perfect and everything as they are, even right now. The problem or the issue lies that we didn't know that. And
Right.
so now who I'm talking to today, mainly, or who the book's talking to, is the logical brain that can go, oh, that's why I feel that way. And the logical brain can also go, oh, I can rewire that. I can
Right.
reprogram it just like a programming, but you got to know about it first.
Yeah, you got to be aware of it for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's why I thought, because you do talk about, in the book you call it monster tracks, but trigger work and really figuring out, what's triggering you, and figuring out why, so that way you're aware of it and you can maybe um,
Yeah. But you know what I've
rewire, I
also
guess.
discovered is awareness alone is actually worse.
Oh, and so what do you mean by that?
Well,
Sure.
it's like someone said to me once, Kim, I'm awareing myself to death, right? So it's not just awareness, it's awareness without judgment. That is
Mm,
the key. And judgment is one of the monster tracks because
yes.
that is judgment and shame. If I were to rewrite the book today, Nicole, I put shame as number one, and that is the epicenter, I believe, of the
Hmm.
rest of them. Because I think the first thing we felt when we were little without any logic or understanding or language, even before language. Look, can I tell you my poop story?
Yeah, yeah, go.
This didn't make the book, by the way.
Right,
This
okay.
came after the book. So I've got some little tidbits that even come after the book. I was on a plane once telling the lady about this book and telling her blah blah blah. And so we got to shame. And one thought hit me, and I was telling her this. And I said, you know what hit me when I was thinking about the shame principle, about the characteristics of shame, the how you know you're in shame mode, right? The flight the book
The
talks
fl-
about fight or flight. Flight is definitely shame. Like, uh-oh, hope nobody sees. I don't want anyone to know. No one can find out the real truth about me. That's the shame feeling. But the behavior is to hide, right? Like to hide somehow, you know, um, literally or figuratively, you're hiding. And so uh, I remember, do you have kids, Nicole?
no.
Okay, so for those of you who have kids, one of the things I remember back when my kids were little, you have a dog and your dog doesn't have any shame about this because I'm going to tell you what it is. And it's like, that's what we do. But that isn't a human. That's not our species. Anyway, sorry about that. I mean, I was bringing in the dog there. Um,
I did
but
warn you.
I know it's fine. I love dogs. But I remember when my kids were little and I remember when they had to poop, I would find them behind the couch, under a table, in a closet, hide like they were hiding somehow. And I remember thinking back about it, going, that was shame behavior. Who taught them to be shameful about poop? Like, why
Right,
would
right.
anyone be shameful about poop? You have to poop. I tell my kids and grandkids, poop or die, poop or die. Like, you got to poop, right? It's like breathing. You got to poop. Anyway, sorry. I love the word saying poop. Anyway. And so but I thought back, how did they get shameful? Because that behavior really was and they didn't do it when they peed. It was only poop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, interesting. So I started thinking about it and I was discussing it with this lady on the plane. And she goes, well, what did we do when we changed our babies' diapers and they had poop? It was a different response than when they just had a wet diaper.
Right,
It was
right.
like if you were my husband, he was gagging and throwing up, Kim, come here, it's a bad one. But it was like, think about it. I remember because I'm very demonstrative and theatrical and very animated, right? So I'm sure when I had a really stinky diaper, even at little 4 months old, 5 months old, think about the messages emotionally that baby is getting from
Right,
I'm remember the driving question underneath everything is, am I okay? Am I okay? Am I okay? And they don't have language or reasoning around it. All they have is an energy or an emotion. And
right.
when their person that needs to love them and take care of them and that they're attached to goes like, even if
They
I'm
see it.
kidding,
Yeah,
it's a different energy, isn't it? And
yeah.
they don't know that could mean death to that little survival brain. So by the time they're up and a little bit more cognizant and they have to do that thing again, hmm, it's an automatic response, just like many of us have an automatic response to hide, to not let
Right,
anyone know.
right.
That is their poop response. Anyway, I love that story because absolutely fit
And it makes
with the shame.
sense. It definitely makes sense,
But
actually.
shame and judgment. Okay, that's what I was going to say. If I was going to rewrite the book, shame would be one, and judgment would be twin. Its twin. And then I think people pleasing is next. I think people pleasing second right now in the book. I would rewrite
Right.
that. In the next iteration, I probably will. I'll change that up. But anyway, that's my feeling because you judgment awareness with judgment will kill you. It's actually worse.
Right.
Do you agree?
Yeah, totally. Totally. I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially, and even because I've been doing a lot of working on my triggers and all of that stuff, sometimes I get sort of depressed in a way because I'm not, I'm like kind of like, oh my goodness, I've got, got to work on this and I got to work on this. And it's, so I
And I
do get
should
that.
know better. Why don't I do it? Because I should know.
Yes. Yes. Totally.
Self-actualized people, it's a double-edged sword, and that's because of the judgment.
Right. Right. No, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So tell me about. I was looking on your website, and I was just kind of learning a little bit about you before you came on, and I noticed something called Ignite Vision. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I can. I could
Okay.
probably only tell you a little bit about it because it's not exactly launched yet.
Okay.
That's the flux I was referring to. But maybe by the time this is, put out, it's obviously it will be way more down the road. But it's been. Let me just give a backdrop to why there is an Ignite Vision. um After, and then I'll tell you what Ignite Vision is. After I wrote the book and after I did like a Heal Yourself, Heal the World kind of a book tour around the country, actually around the world. I actually went to a European place and did one as well, but it doesn't matter. It's just like where I have a tribe where people already know me and love the book and they wanted to invite their friends, so I did that. But I'm a creator. We're all creators, by the way. Creation is part of, I think, in our DNA. And
Mhm.
so for me, it's not about, you know, I'm very blessed to have that income I was talking about. I'm very blessed to have a lot of freedom in my life, time freedom, but it's also a double-edged sword as well because it's like, well, what inspires me to go create right now? Like what's the driving catalyst for me when, and I know it sounds like a first world problem where people go, "Oh, yeah, I wish I had that problem." Well, believe me, every blessing, Liz Gilbert calls it a shit sandwich, right? Like everything you have that you do over here that's really, really, really good, you're going to pay a price. There's there's a other side of the coin, right? So for me, I've been just kind of bored. Like the book got out, that was great. Okay, but now what? Now what? Now what? Because I really feel a call for me to impact the world, but I didn't know really how. Well, I read a book called The Surrender Experiment, Michael Slinger. It was a direct lightning bolt from God. Like I read a lot,
Right.
but that book was not a book. It was scripture. It was like, and I read it. I was blown away because it actually spoke to this driving need in me to drive, to control. Oh, which by the way, control is another monster track. I've come up with
Yes.
2 or 3 more monster tracks since the book, by the way. Control, I was so in the middle of it, I didn't even see it when I wrote the book. Control is my predominant monster track. So when I read this book about surrendering, I'm like, I started hyperventilating. I can't do that. So my last year has really been about, I made up a new word called relowing. It's relaxing and allowing, like allow and relax and stay
Hmm.
there. That is painful for people that are used to driving energy. I call it monster energy in the book. And in many areas of my life, I have, it has settled down and I've aligned with, I talk about the sailboat or the motorboat in
Hmm.
the book. Absolutely. But there's another layer that this book took me to that showed me where I really, really wasn't enough allowing. So this last year, I've just been really journaling, meditating, pondering, and being aware without judgment of when I don't allow, and then watching and pulling and choosing to step back into that. So as a result of that process, um, there's a there's a program that's emerging that will is going to launch. I've been in a beta test group for about 4 months, since about September, October, with a small group of people that were willing to go with me on this journey and see what was going to show up and unfold from the. I believe once we get out of the way,
Yes.
we're all destined for what our calling is, and none of our callings are for mediocrity or not making an impact. We're here to do something. We're here to be of an effect of some sort. in whatever way that shows up for you. And everybody's different, like fingerprints. So for me, I knew my calling was to impact on a global level. I knew my impact. I love to speak. And the more people I'm speaking to, the better. Like I go to a new place inside myself that I don't go to even in this conversation. Like I love speaking. I love impacting. So this group Ignite Vision is this program is really about several facets. The law of attraction is in there, but in the way I don't agree with a lot of the law of attraction, some of them anyway, that are showing it and how they're teaching it. There's some facets to it that don't resonate with me. So it's a law of attraction that's really based on principles I've forged in the trenches that have actually um, manifested. Like I've got evidence of it in my life for sure, because it's what I've done to create the life that I've had so far. And then, but when you get where you think you're going to go, monster track number 9, fantasy, when you think you're going to get there and you think you're going to be happy, you're not. It's a fantasy that if that happens, then I'll be happy, then I'll be done. We're never
Right.
done. And we're happy as we go. That's the key. Gratitude for where we are right now with my cellulite, with my broke checkbook, and with my families that's ripped apart. Gratitude shifts you. And right. So I love the principles I'm also teaching in Ignite Vision, but I'm also providing an experiential, see, because we're not cerebral. The book talks about cerebral knowledge, because you all know enough to do huge things in your life right now. If you would just go do the thing you know to do, think about what your life would be like. What stops you? Because knowing isn't the final answer. Knowing is the very first door opener. And then it's actually rewiring. I talk about in the book how we're fired and wired. We need to have experiential, emotional, experiential um, experiences to fire and wire a new belief, a new truth about us, so that we can attract the life, not the one we have, because we don't want that one. We want the called life.
Right.
Right. So Ignite Vision is that. It's not just more information. It starts with that, but it actually leads to a daily experiential meditation journaling live, not a recorded, like you're going to show up with a group of a community doing actually doing it. And
Right.
then small synergy groups and lots of this kind of stuff. Staying in your staying. See, here's how I view it. We need information and does it help to have information? Yes. But until we're ready at this level to hear it, at that deep knowing place, we won't really hear it.
Right.
It'll be out there. It'll be, yeah, I know. Okay, well, it's good that you know. Keep surrounding yourself, because if you stay inundated in it, surrounded with people who are actually like-minded. I don't know about
Right.
your life, Nicole, but most people's lives, they're not surrounded by this information. They're
Right.
not, look at the news, look at Facebook, look at whatever's out there, crap going on. Those people, it's the Jerry Springer show. Do you have Jerry Springer in Canada?
Yeah, we do.
It's like drama. They said that. Oh my gosh, they did that. Oh, my mother-in-law. Oh, my daughter-in-law. Oh, my friend. Like, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So being surrounded and keeping yourself in an environment where when you're ready, all that information, or at least at a time, is going to start going, oh, I get it now. Like at the deep
Right.
level, not at this level, right?
Right. Right.
That's
Right.
what Ignite Vision is in a lot of words. Sorry.
No, I like it. I like it. And so this is obviously it's an online thing, except
Yeah,
that it's
it's
live.
virtual, but it's live. A lot of
Gotcha.
it's live, and it's not. Uh, that's what I think what's missing. Like when I go out and look what I've seen around, which is all good. Like I love, and everybody's going to find what they need at the time. But I don't see a lot of. First of all, my preference would be to get everybody physical somewhere
Yes, of course.
and go, let's go, because I love retreats and I love to play at a higher level. But right now, a lot of people just need some of the beginning steps. Well, okay, that sounds all like, that's kind of like in the book. I give some examples of meditation or quieting or
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness,
Mm-hmm.
but not everyone can. That's like, I can't hear that yet, because I got to solve some problems right now that are
Right.
pressing me. I'm not able to hear that yet. So I want a place where people that are at least willing to hear that first voice, and follow that, get some more and more and more relief, get some more and more, shifting. And I don't see that. I don't see the actual helping people in the trenches daily stuff happening. Well, I mean, it's kind of a pain to do
Right,
that
right.
from a program standpoint. I'm willing to do it, and I'm willing to also, and I don't know, like it's morphing and developing. This Ignite vision is not mine. It's what's being brought to me
Right.
as I'm ready to hear it.
Right,
Right.
right.
So it's a
Yeah, which
cool
is so
process.
cool. It's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I know you mentioned in the book too at the end, Dr. Joe Dispenza,
Yeah.
the breaking the habit of being yourself.
Yeah.
I did that one. I did, and it's very that it remind when you talk about Ignite Vision, it's like it reminds me of that, but you're doing it with people, I guess,
Yeah.
rather than doing it on your own in your living room or whatever.
Yeah. And you want to hear something cool again about the universe, how the universe works?
Yeah.
I didn't even know Joe Dispenza's name when I started the book.
Oh wow.
And I thought, I thought I created this fire and wire thing. Because I didn't know about it before, right? Like
Right,
I'd read
right.
books about the brain and I knew. Here's the other thing that I don't know that Joe talks about, actually. I've never seen anyone really iterate it like, um, or describe it like I do. And doesn't make me right or wrong. It just adds another layer to my understanding that helps me. What, what, everyone agrees we are products of firing and wiring in
Hmm.
our neural pathways, in our synapses, blah, blah, blah. Our identity, our emotion, everything is connected to firing and wiring. And I did a coaching call with a woman once about her, and something came up about this. And she goes, well, I'm an occupational therapist. I know what, what, what wires. And she goes, it's repetition. She goes, we teach stroke patients, pick up, pick up, put down, pick
Oh,
up.
right,
Okay.
right.
And that wires them back to that behavior. It's part of their therapy. And I said, well, what fires? What's the initial firing then? If we're going to totally reinvent ourselves, so to speak, reprogram ourselves, what fired us? What fires us continually? She goes, I don't know. So here's my definition of that, right or wrong. I think it's true, even if there's further definitions that people have. I think this is absolutely true. What fires us and what fired us when we were little is emotion. To the degree you have an emotional response, good or bad. Like
Right,
it's
right.
neutral and it doesn't judge. It doesn't say, I'm not firing that because that's not true. No, it believes whatever emotionally you experience. And to the degree you have an emotional response, how many of you maybe had a hugely shameful uh, experience when you were peed your pants in front of your class in second grade, or was left to be the last one chosen for sports? That was like huge. Like that's the hugest shame thing a little kid can
Yeah,
experience.
totally. I
Oh,
remember
it's
that. I
horrible.
remember. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
horrible. But you know what? To this day, if that was a firing situation, I bet people, when I do NLP, I'm a neuro linguistic programmer as well. So some of these exercises I do as a group and with individuals, I'll take them back on a timeline and they'll remember. They'll remember when they're 5. They'll
Wow.
remember when they were 3 and something happened, because that's a firing. And then in my book, um, the reticular activating system, I refer to them as mental bloodhounds. The minute you send that emotional message to your brain that you're dumb, that you're not good enough, that you're bad, that you're stupid, that you're ugly, whatever the configuration is that we all have different, um, that part of your brain says, your wish is my command. Okay, I'll only let that information in from now on. It doesn't know that you're only 3 and that you don't have a logical brain. It just says, okay, you're stupid. Okay. And you emotionally told your brain that. Like that came from a firing. Then that part of your brain that filters out unnecessary data that you don't really need, which happens all the time. Like you guys have air conditioners and heaters and lights and fans and refrigerators running right now. You don't even hear it because your reticular activating system says you don't need to hear that.
Right.
That's not part of your survival. So we're not letting that in. You don't need it. But this message, guess what? It's been wiring now that truth over, and it's letting in every single time you're dumb, every single time that somebody looks at you a little bit funny. Guess what? You're going to interpret it that, oh, they think I'm dumb.
Right.
You didn't, that you had no proof of that, and probably wasn't even true. but because that wiring was so strong based on that firing. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It
totally.
actually fires anew. It fires anew and it wires. It's perpetuating. It's like the law
Right.
of attraction. It's going to keep giving you what you are putting out energetically, aka emotionally.
Right. Yeah, no, that's
Oh, it's so good. I get so fired up about it.
no, it's great. I do remember you brought me back, with the sports where you have like the team leader and it's usually somebody who's pretty good at sports. And then they would go and you know, pick one by one and the
Yeah.
people who were last. Yeah.
Oh, horrible.
I know. I don't know if they still do that,
They probably
but
do.
yeah.
Because look at sports in general. I mean, really, the sports world, for them, not that there's not some good that comes out of it, but it's very monster driven. I mean, look at even
Right.
adults sitting in stadiums hating the other team or hating the other people. I'm like, you guys, look at yourselves. But their 3-year old is still in the driver's seat emotionally. And then
Right.
they use their logical brain to justify, rationalize, and defend what their emotional illogical self decided. So that's why competition's very effective. Like in school, especially
Hmm.
academically, it's effective. With parents with their kids, it's effective. It's very effective, but it doesn't make it the best thing to do.
Right.
And or until see, here's the thing. I've had a lot of parents say, well, what do I do, Kim, because I'm raising kids? I'm like, well, do your best, right? Like there's no way that you're going to escape because this happening with your child, even if you are the best parent, because they don't have a way to process. They don't have the equipment yet, right?
Right.
They don't have the equipment. My 26-year-old son a couple years ago called. He lives in Europe now, and he called and he goes, "Mom, something's changing in me. Like I am like seeing things differently and just kind of like, whoa, I'm not the me I was." And I go, and he grew up with this information. I go, "Stephen, welcome to your prefrontal cortex. Like this is what's really happening." And it did happen. I left my first husband at 24 or 25 because I was like, wait, what am I doing here? Wait, I made this decision. Not that he wasn't a good guy and I feel bad and I had 2 children with him, but it was like, I don't really want this. And this,
Right.
how many decisions do we make in those critical ages where when our prefrontal kicks in fully, we go, what the heck?
Well,
Right?
we have to choose, we choose a education path. We choose yeah, there's lots of decisions
Yep.
before 25.
Yep. Who you're going to marry, what? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm not saying that that's all wrong. And you can reprogram even in your current situation. Like you don't have to wait for you to get it all perfect to there's no like, oh, okay, everything I did before 25 is wrong. But you can now hear the message of how to reprogram. There's no escaping the identity creation from fight and flight, the survival brain, the fear-based brain. There's no escaping that. I don't
Right.
care how great of a parent you are.
Right.
Does it matter how you raise your children? Yeah, it does. I wouldn't spank my kids anymore if I had to do it again.
Right.
But even if I spanked them, I still surrounded them with a lot of love around it. And there's a lot of parents that spank out of anger or hit out of anger or just yell out of anger and they're angry. Because why? We were raised from our parents' monsters,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like they couldn't help it. They did their best, but they didn't know that they were being driven by something. And until we actually do the work on ourselves, this is the bottom line here, until we actually do this work on ourselves and refire, rewire, heal those inner wounds of our little kid that didn't know better. That's who raised you, by the way, was parents that didn't know better and their little kid that didn't know. we're every relationship we're in is going to be the need for confirmation about us. It's always about us until we are healed, until we get this figured, until we get this not just learned about, but actually the work done.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you can look at people who are even meaning to do you harm, which most parents, I would say, aren't. They're doing their best with what they can. But even people that get angry and are triggered and button pushed and treat you bad, it's amazing to me, Nicole, now how much that rewiring has actually, in observation mode for me, I can go, oh man, my automatic response now isn't anger back at them. It's like compassion. Oh, I'm sorry you're in such pain that you wanted to hurt me like that.
Right. Right.
No, it's so
Yes.
cool. Not to say I'm
Yes.
perfect, please, but I have noticed the difference, and my son is coming through that. Sorry, the
Oh,
light
that's
is
okay.
shining. Anyway,
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I do believe, and I think you have it as your on your website right at the beginning, when you heal yourself, then you heal the world, right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
everything has a ripple effect. So everything starts from
Yep.
within.
And that's really what I want to do. I want to be a part of the conversation of healing. I want to be a part with many, many, many others that are in the conversation. Right now, our world is just, that was one of the impetuses for me writing the book was in 2016 in the United States in the
Mm,
election and the
right,
division and the polarization. And I thought maybe after the election it would get better. It's gotten worse. And it continues to be worse. And we're just heading down that path. And I want to be part of the energy that heals and
right,
lets people see where the actual enemy is. It's not your enemy. The monster under the bed is not anything but your scared little self.
right, right. No, I love it. I love it. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to
Oh,
talk
all
about?
kinds of stuff we didn't talk. Girl, I could go all day. Like,
That's
yeah, I
funny.
teach workshops, but no, I think from an overview, idea, a appetite whetter, if people want to work with me or work with my night vision program, I would love that
Hmm.
because that's where I can see I can have the biggest impact right now. And you can follow me on social media. Um,
You're under Kim Fisk, I think,
Kim
right?
Fisk.
Yeah.
There's a Kim Reed Fisk is my personal one, but Kim Fisk, I don't know. It's something like that. I have somebody that helps me with social media. Instagram is Kim Fisk. Um, KimFisk.com, I think, is the
Yeah, yeah.
URL for that. So
I'll
you,
what I'll do is I'll put all of your contact info
okay,
at the bottom of the podcast,
okay.
and so we are going to be starting your book in February
I'm so
1st.
excited.
So yeah, I've got all the content ready for the month of February,
I
and
love that.
yeah,
Thank
so
you.
you might get tagged in a few of those posts, just so you know. And
On Instagram, is that where it
yes,
lives?
on
Okay.
Instagram. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Like you are
No,
a
thank you.
blessing. This an angel that came from out of nowhere to me that confirms that the universe has our back. We're predisposed to success. We're predisposed for goodness, and that's what is if we allow, right, get out of the
Yes,
way
yes, I love it.
and heal ourselves. So thank you,
No, thank you. And thank you for taking the time, and have a wonderful day.
you too. Bye, bye,
Bye bye.
everybody.